Well, let's find out how businesses in Northern Ireland are faring. We can talk to Patricia Gilbert from the Ballylagan Organic Farm in Ballyclare in County Antrim. Thank you for being with us. We're looking at the politics of all this, but what about the practicalities? How are you being impacted by the checks and the restrictions?
Well, we run an organic farm. We also have a farm shop. And up until this year, we relied very heavily on GB wholesalers for about 70% of our turnover. We're now in February, and some of these wholesalers say that they're still unable to send produce across the Irish Sea.
Right. You say unable to. Is that because they don't want to, because of all the extra paperwork and possible delays, I guess, to their produce?
Yes, indeed. I mean, it's the amount of paperwork that's required, the cost in terms of staff time to fill everything in, and then, of course, the concern that produce, particularly fresh produce, might get held up at the ports.
And so what are the particular difficulties they're worried about as a result of the new restrictions? Is it simply the paperwork you describe, or are there additional costs? What are the specific problems?
Well, certainly there are additional costs, and I'm having to pay more to get produce in from GB. But if I can give you one example, we are getting some organic fruit and veg from a wholesaler in England. And they have to supply the courier with all the information that's required for the customs documents. They also have to upload a full list of all the produce onto the DEFRA website for a phytosanitary certificate, which actually involves a DEFRA person having to come out and look at the pallet of fruit and veg. And then come April, they will also have to get a certificate of inspection because the goods they are moving are organic. So that will be the third level of inspection and certificates.
Right. I mean, Boris Johnson suggested that these could be teething problems, and also suggested that Northern Ireland businesses could have the best of both worlds. How is it? It's not turning out that way, I guess.
No, and I've spoken to a lot of other businesses, and it's not actually just Northern Ireland, because the south of Ireland is retailers are very affected as well, because we all relied on GB wholesalers to a large extent, particularly for organic produce.
So are you having to source goods and produce now from the EU? Are you looking at other countries that would be simpler to deal with?
Well, I have just placed my first order with a large Dutch organic wholesaler. So we shall see how that works. But yes, I mean, if I didn't really want to have to do that, but I'm forced down that road.
Right. So what would you like to see happen as talks going on? I mean, do you think this can be resolved? Would you like to see an extension to the grace period? Would that be enough?
No, I don't think it's just about extending the grace period. I think it has to be fixed. If these regulations are in place to stop the movement of goods from Northern Ireland across the border down south, in other words, as a backdoor to EU, then I think they have to look at where the actual risk is and where these goods are actually arriving in Northern Ireland. And I'm a retailer. I'm bringing in pallets of maybe 100 to 200 lines. I'm going to sell it out of a farm shop. There is no risk that I am going to move those goods across the border into the south of Ireland. And I think there has to be a much more pragmatic approach to this.
OK, well, we'll see what happens. Patricia Gilbert, thank you for being with us this evening.